Good morning and welcome to the Virginia State Assessments, the V-Test flipped training video. So who participates in Virginia State Assessments? Well, just about everyone. So we call them V-Test. If you're not taking the SOL, you're taking the VGLA or the VAP. In high school, they take the VSEP or the VMAST. So who participates? Well, students with disabilities who meet specific criteria and who cannot access the standards of learning state assessment, even with the use of their accommodations. And English learners who meet the LEP criteria may be eligible to participate in the Reading VGLA. So in grades 3 through 5, we're looking at a WIDA composite score of 1.0 through 3.5. And for grade 6, we're looking at 1.0 through 3.3. Note, please know that there's a 3-year time limit for the VGLA reading. Duly identified students may be eligible only if they meet the LEP criteria. English learners, so WIDA ELP level 1 through 5 students who enrolled in the U.S. schools for the first time on or after May 1st, 2014, may have a one-time exemption on the grades 3 through 8 English reading, SOL. Other LEP exemptions may be available in other content areas. So what is the key to our success? Collaboration, stronger evidence, monitoring throughout the year, and knowing our resources. Please look at the binder check-in, save the dates. We're checking for binders on Friday, December 12th, 2014. We are asking that approximately 1/3 of the collection of evidence should be complete. We need all affidavits signed at this time. Every piece of evidence should have a sticker, and all work must be graded. It is easy for the scorers to look at the number of correct over the number of total items with check marks to match the number of correct. Then again, February 27th, we are asking for binders by the close of business, COB, and we're looking for approximately 2/3 of the evidence should be complete. Again, stickers on every piece of evidence and all work graded. And then on April 3rd, binders should be nearly complete with the possibility of minimal collection of evidence still needed. We are going to be checking for affidavits, stickers, and work that is graded. This allows time for us to check and return for any missing collection of evidence. We must take all binders to the testing office by Wednesday, April 22nd, 2015. So who coordinates this? Well, it's a collaborative process between the administrators and the teachers in the school. The case manager and ESOL teacher and special educator and the classroom teacher are responsible for the instruction, the assessment, and collection of evidence. Year at a glance. Remember, SOL and ASOL is based on instruction and assessment that is a cycle that occurs all year long. So who decides which test is appropriate for English learners? The LEP committee, which includes the teachers, the ESOL teachers, grade level teachers, testing coordinator, coach, ESOL administrator, in our case, it's just the administrators, and the parent if possible. Your ESOL teacher will know about the LEP Student Assessment Participation Plan, which must be completed. So who decides which test is appropriate for students with disabilities? Well, it's the IEP team, which is the special ed teacher, the general ed teacher, and or any specialist, administrator, the parent, the PSL if needed, and of course the ESOL teacher if the student is duly identified. And this must be documented on the student's IEP. Please contact your special education teacher to ensure that you know these pages are filled out in the student's IEP. Who decides which test is appropriate for our duly identified students? It must be a collaborative decision made by the IEP team or the 504 committee and the LEP committee. It must be documented on the student's IEP or 504 plan and the LSAP form. So again, for duly identified students, it must be in the LSAP form and on the student's IEP. This might be a little hard to read. These are the options. The SOL is an option for all students. The VSEP is an option for students in high school that are identified. The VGLA is for LEP students, reading only, and then for history, science, and writing for students with disabilities and students that have a 504 plan. The VMAST is for high school students, and the VAP are for students who have significant cognitive impairments. So we're going to skip this slide. The VMAST is only for high school students now. The VGLA assesses grade level state content standards. Performance is judged on grade level expectations. It's evidence-based. It is in content areas. It is for grades 3 through 8. And participation for the reading are English language learners and duly identified English language learners who meet the LEP criteria. And for writing science and history or Virginia studies, it is for those students with disabilities whose disability prevents the demonstration of knowledge through multiple choice format, even with accommodations. The VGLA in grades 3 through 8 is only available for EL students or duly identified students who meet the LEP criteria. The evidence must be collected under testing conditions in which the student does not have access to hints, cluing, or prompts that would provide the answer. For a complete rule of evidence, please look at the VGLA implementation manual and attend one of the trainings that are being offered through my PLT. Again, the VGLA test is available for reading, writing, science, Virginia studies, and civics for grade 8. So the VGLA decision, teams completing new or annual IEP or 504 plans must carefully compare performance on multiple choice and alternate format assessments of the same SOL content to answer the VGLA criteria question on number 2 of the IEP in each content area considered. The number of work samples required to make a decision will vary. Work samples for each content area must be kept with the IEP or 504 plan in the student's scholastic record for 1 year. I'd like to repeat that. So teams completing new or annual IEPs must carefully compare performance on multiple choice and alternate format assessments of the same SOL content to answer the VGLA criteria question on number 2 of the IEP in each content area considered. The number of work samples required to make the decision will vary. Work samples for each content area must be kept with the IEP plan in the student's record for 1 year. So if we're considering a science or a Virginia studies VGLA, we must look at the criteria and we must have work samples to support our decision. The IEP or 504 team will determine whether they have sufficient data to make a decision or need to collect additional samples. The LEP criteria for VGLA reading, again, for grades 3 through 5, it's the overall composite of a WIDA score 1.0 through 3.5, and for grade 6, it's 1.0 through 3.3. LEP participation in reading. LEP students are eligible for VGLA reading for 3 years beginning with the first use of VGLA, provided they continue to meet the LEP criteria. Duly identified students who previously participated based on special education criteria may still be found eligible based on LEP criteria. Program affidavits. Evidence completed under testing conditions. We are signing the affidavit that says the evidence is completed under testing conditions. The evidence completed by the student has to be in the presence of a teacher or school personnel. Accommodations documented in the IEP or 504 plan. There is no fabrication, alteration, or modification of student work, and no provision of or knowledge of inappropriate assistance. So every person participating in a student's VGLA collection of evidence will be signing this VGLA affidavit of student performance. Evidence must be completed under the supervision of the student's content area teacher or other school personnel. It must be collected under testing conditions in which the student does not have access to hints, cluing, or prompts that would provide the answers. So for types of evidence allowed for the VAP, the VSEP, and VGLA are work samples, audio, video, interview, data, charts, and graphs. And then you have for VAP only, caption, photographs, or anecdotal records. Not allowed for VGLA. We cannot have anecdotal records or photographs, and then not allowed for VSEP are those 3 items. What is not allowed are work samples, quizzes, tests, or worksheets in which students have multiple attempts to complete the same work. Again, work samples in which students have had multiple attempts to complete the same work sample is not allowed. Scoring rules. Evidence must clearly demonstrate the depth of knowledge expected of the student in accordance with the SOL test blueprint. If the evidence for a particular SOL does not demonstrate the depth of knowledge indicated by the SOL, the highest score point the student can achieve is 1. I think I might have skipped one. No, I didn't. Go back to irregularities and violations. We have to understand that inappropriate administration holds the same consequences and repercussions as violations of test security for the SOL assessments. All assessment irregularities noted in scoring will be reported to the Virginia Department of Education, and inappropriate accommodations will result in an irregularity. So starting the beginning of second quarter, we will have spreadsheets for every grade level where you can work together to identify the accommodations that are needed for our students with disabilities and our English language learners. These must be used not only in testing, but classroom accommodations all year long. Documentation checks. Previously stated, we will have 3 times throughout the year that we're checking binders and returning them. This is an ongoing process. It's collaborative. It's part of the cycle of instruction and assessment. If any potential changes to testing or accommodations, then the IEP team needs to meet if someone on the IEP team, including the parents, want to discuss potential changes. So what could this look like? Well, you're going to work with us, the administrative team, and the VTest coordinator, which is Linda Ostrander. You should be collaborating in planning, pacing, collection, and retesting as needed in your teacher-directed planning sessions or your CT sessions. Collaborative to check work for match to the SOL. You may want to swap binders to check for stickers or grading before you turn them in. That is up to you. We will provide a link to the VGLA implementation manual. It is found on the VDOE website. Teachers and students participating are asked to read the manual for the selected assessments. And here are additional resources: the Office of Special Education Instruction website, the Office of Student Testing website, and the Virginia Department of Education website. And of course, you can always post questions to VAAP at fcps.edu and VGLA at fcps.edu. So this concludes our flipped training. Have a great day.